the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Straight ahead here on DC News Now at 9, a missing woman is found dead in Montgomery County. What we know about that investigation. Plus, the Memphis community is praying for the family of Tyre Nichols. Meanwhile, Memphis's police chief is speaking out about the changes she would like to see in the police department. And the Eagles are heading to the Super Bowl. What this means for the big game. But first, here's meteorologist Scott Sumner.
All right, Annalisa, our week's going to start off on a warm note, but end on a very chilly note and typical for January. We'll break it all down for you and show you that 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, good evening. Thank you for joining us for DC News Now at 9. I'm Annalisa Gale. A missing woman found dead this weekend has now been identified, and tonight her case has been ruled a homicide. Our Daniel Hamburg joins us live with the investigation happening now. Daniel?
Well, Annalisa, right now, police don't have any suspects in custody. 20-year-old Keelan Yolabeth Chavez Dominguez was found in a heavily wooded area about 8 miles from her apartment. Keelan Yolabeth Chavez Dominguez was reported missing on January 2nd, last seen by family and friends in her apartment here on Braxfield Court in North Bethesda on December 30th. Police say a witness saw her leaving the complex with a Hispanic man on December 31st. On Saturday, 4 weeks later, police were called to Upper Paint Branch Stream Valley Park in Colesville around 2 p.m. for the report of a suspicious situation. What they found was Chavez Dominguez's body in the woods just below the Intercounty Connector near New Hampshire Avenue. Her body was taken to the office of the chief medical examiner in Baltimore, where an autopsy will be conducted to determine the cause and manner of death. Anyone with information about this homicide is asked to contact Crime Solvers of Montgomery County at the number on your screen, 1-866-411-TIPS. A reward of up to $10,000 is being offered for information that leads to an arrest. In the studio, Daniel Hamburg, DC News Now.
Thanks, Daniel. And right now, police are investigating a homicide in Alexandria. It happened around 11:30 p.m. in the 4600 block of Kenmore Avenue on Friday. That's where they found a 17-year-old who was shot and killed. One arrest has been made so far. The suspect is also a 17-year-old boy. He was charged with possession of a firearm by a person under 18. And in Prince William County, police are investigating a deadly crash in Dumfries, Virginia. Police say that 38-year-old Gustavo Barrano Benitez was driving his 2015 Jeep Wrangler down Richmond Highway when his passenger opened the door of the driving car and exited that vehicle while it was moving. That passenger later died. She has been identified as 30-year-old DeStephanie De La Cruz Moreno Medina. Police say Benitez was intoxicated and driving without a license. He was arrested and charged with driving under the influence.
So we ask today, as we gather as the NAACP, to speak to this moment in the life of this community, the murder of Mr. Tyre Nichols.
Developing now, the Memphis community continues to pray following the death of Tyre Nichols after a traffic stop. Meanwhile, the police chief is looking at strategies to improve the police department. Marcus Hunter from our sister station in Memphis has all the details.
Saturday, the Memphis Police Department announced they have disbanded the Scorpion Unit. 5 officers from that unit were fired for their role in the death of Tyre Nichols. Friday, Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis told the WREG how the unit was supposed to operate.
The whole idea was to have more visibility, be laser focused on repeat offenders, those individuals that we know are committing violent crimes in the community.
She says the officers who have now all been arrested and charged with second-degree murder defied their training.
Everything about traffic stops, they have all kinds of de-escalation training. We take them off the streets every 8 months so that they can have a decompression moment, have an opportunity to do some retraining.
She says the officers' actions that led to Nichols' death showed there was a problem, not just with the training, but with the police culture in Memphis.
You can have all of the ideal policies, but if you have a culture that doesn't have supervision, that doesn't have adherence to the policies, then you've got problems.
Davis says it is also time to not only think about additional training for officers, but for leaders within the police department.
You can never do enough leadership training, not just at the top level, but also at the mid-managed level.
She says she also understands there are people who believe she should lose her job. However, Davis says she has no plans on stepping down.
People may question my leadership, but you know, I would like to say that, you know, I have stood and have done the work as it relates to how to manage an organization, what's important to the organization, the changes that I've made here.
She says some of the failures that led to Nichols' death are due to a lack of staffing.
I've also asked the city to give me 125 sergeant positions, those field level supervisors, because our department is woefully unsupervised. That's one of the issues that I noticed when I first came here.
She says that the swift actions of the officers being fired should not have come as a surprise to anyone on the Memphis police force.
I have told them in person, when you commit a crime in my police department, you don't get to wear the badge. You don't get to wear the uniform.
In Memphis, Marcus Hunter, WREG News Channel 3.
This campaign will be about the future. This campaign will be about issues. Joe Biden has put America on the fast track to ruin and destruction, and we will ensure that he does not receive 4 more years.
That was former President Donald Trump speaking at a campaign event in South Carolina last night. This all comes as he kicks off his 2024 White House bid. He also made a stop yesterday in New Hampshire. He took jabs at President Biden, criticizing the election process and promised to work on solutions when it comes to immigration.
Going to restore election integrity. People have to believe in our elections.
This was his first campaign appearance since announcing that he is running for president once again. Well, a group of House and Senate Democrats are frustrated with the president and are demanding that he reverses the expansion of Title 42. Washington correspondent Basil John looks at why they say keeping it in place will not solve the humanitarian crisis at the border.
House and Senate Democrats are urging President Biden to stop the recently expanded Title 42.
Title 42 is not a solution. It is part of the problem.
New Jersey Democratic Senator Bob Menendez says the policy turned the border into a revolving door.
It has no final adjudication of those who may have a right for asylum and those who may not have a right for asylum.
The expansion expels asylum seekers from Cuba, Nicaragua, and Haiti back into Mexico and makes them ineligible for re-entry into the U.S.
This administration is making it effectively impossible to seek refuge at our border.
Both New York Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and New Jersey Democratic Senator Cory Booker say the policy makes the situation at the border more dangerous,
including kidnappings, serious assaults, and deaths against individuals who were expelled due to Title 42.
They literally have to hide themselves to avoid sexual violence, robbery, and more.
But many Republicans, like Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, say the border restrictions need to stay.
There should be agreement that we're going to fund Title 42.
Democrats say their focus is to work with the president to develop better policies that uphold the right to asylum.
Let's expand the legal pathways for migrants and refugees to this country.
Reporting in Washington, I'm Basil John.
New tonight, the Philadelphia Eagles are heading to the Super Bowl following their victory over the 49ers this afternoon. The Eagles won the Super Bowl 5 years ago. They'll play either the Cincinnati Bengals or the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll have highlights coming up at 10 on Game Night on WDVM with Jake and Brandy. Good for them. I know those Eagles fans, they're not feeling any cold tonight while they're out celebrating. They're out there.
Yeah, and you know, Eagles like cold and warm temperatures like we're going to get this week. They can bask in the Arizona heat or the Canadian cold. I didn't know that. All right, anyway, let's look outside because we're going to have both this week. Right now, here at the Kennedy Center, looking pretty nice and quiet. Traffic's moving along. Not an issue tonight. Live camera showing that. Visibilities are good across the area, whether you're on I-270, I-70, I-66, I-81, or I-95. Now, where you may run into some issues along I-65, 468 out towards Garrett County. That's where you could have some low visibilities this evening. Otherwise, right now, and I say right now at a little after 9 o'clock, we're not seeing any issues with fog. However, we did have some rain earlier today, as you well know, and we could have some patchy fog building in overnight tonight. Now, as you currently see, our satellite shows plenty of clouds. We're locked in here. We're socked in with clouds, right? But at least we're void of rain. However, rain chances are going to build here over the next couple of days. But for tonight, we've just got those clouds in place from 10 to 11 to the midnight hour, and temperatures will hold primarily into the middle 40s here in D.C. What about the out-the-door forecast for tomorrow on January 30th? Well, you step outside, and like I said, patchy fog could be an issue for you. Otherwise, mainly cloudy skies. Temperatures cold, but not brutally so, at least not yet. 30s and 40s, and we'll have a light southwest wind out there. Those winds will start to pick up, and I'll tell you why coming up in my full forecast. Annalisa?
To come here on DC News Now at 9. Human trafficking is a nationwide issue, and tonight leaders in Prince George's County are warning the community about what to look out for. And later, a look at why you won't want to keep your Lyft driver waiting next time. Stay with us.